Welcome to 3D Max 5-minute modifiers. This tutorial is going to be all about the lattice modifier. We're going to use a box for this object, and we want to make sure that our box has several segments, length, width, and height. That's what's going to determine our lattice. And we're going to turn our box into an editable poly, and we'll select several of the edges. I'm selecting multiple edges by hitting Control, and we'll go ahead and apply our lattice modifier to it. And if we turn this apply entire object off, it's just going to apply the lattice modifier to the edges that we selected here. Now the next thing that we have down here, joints only from vertices. If we click that, it's only going to show us where the vertices are in our box. And here, if we select this one, it's only going to show us where the edges are in our box. Both will obviously show us both of these. Under struts, now struts are the pieces in the middle, in between the two vertices, basically where our edges are. And if we adjust the radius of those, we can see that we can make them bigger or smaller. The segments, actually, if you look up here, you can see it's allowing us to add more segments into the struts. The sides will add more sides, so it's giving us kind of a smoothing effect if we go high. The material ID allows us to place different materials on these struts versus where the vertices are. It's the same thing here with the sides. We can set the material for the sides. The ignore hidden edges, that just generates the struts for visible edges. When it's turned off, it puts struts on all of the edges. So we can see that by turning that back on, we get rid of the cross sections there. This end caps applies end caps to all the struts. We can't see that right now because we have our vertices, our joints turned on. And smooth, if you watch right in here, when we turn our smooth on and off, it smooths the struts out so they become more like cylinders. Under the joints, this is where we control the pieces where the vertices are, and this allows us to select the shape of those. It allows us to change the size of them. We can increase the segments. Again, the higher we go, the more smooth they become. We can set a material ID for the joints themselves so that they can be different than the struts. And it has a smoothing function so that we can turn them into more like spheres. And the mapping coordinates, what that does is that is used for materials or for a mapping modifier, and this allows us to either set it to none so that it has no mapping. We can reuse the existing mapping that came with this, or we can create a new map with all of the cylindrical areas for the struts and for each joint, the shapes